Well, good afternoon. Obviously, really pleased with the outcome on Saturday. We played a complete football game against a really good team in a tough, hostile environment, and that was something I was so pleased with is how we responded to some first quarter adversity as well as some third quarter adversity, and that's a couple of things that we talked about before the game was just getting through and weathering the storm early and then trying to get our running game going and get some pressure on the quarterback. That was kind of the recipe in the first half. And then in the third quarter, I knew we'd get the ball, and I assumed they were going to take the win, trying to get back into the game. And I thought it was important for us to weather the storm early there. And they got a field goal. We did some one poor thing with field position, and then we were able to get out of the field position with a couple of big plays that Easton threw. So then once we got to the fourth quarter, I felt really comfortable because it was hard. It was really hard to throw it into that wind. Obviously, the kicking game was a big factor in general with the wind, and so for us to be able to run the football the way we were able to and control the time of possession and keep the quarterback off the field, that was the whole key to success, is keeping the quarterback off the field and keeping our O-line and running backs on the field. And so we executed that part extremely well. So we're pleased with the win. We have an open week, but have a lot of stuff to do this week. So we'll open up for questions.
Injury-wise, I guess, what's the progress or what's the week look like for you finding out what Nick's status is?
Well, he had a procedure today. I don't know how it went yet and what they all did, so I don't have an answer for you other than he had a procedure. So I'll learn more, and we probably won't know anything, if not this week, still next week. I don't really know other than there was a procedure done.
Can you pinpoint as a meniscus? I mean, we still haven't really understood what you don't.
I don't. Well, I'm not going to say anything until I know for sure, and so that's not fair for me to say anything when I don't know for sure.
Chris, Brock Robbins and Dimitri Williams were also out with those injuries from this past week, and what's up with them?
Brock got injured in the game. We didn't realize it until Monday. Similar to, I don't know if anybody's injured from Saturday. We felt like we came out of it okay, but sometimes Monday things will creep up. And Brock hurt his foot. We don't think it's severe. We had some x-rays on it last week, and so we held him out, and we'll find out more about him this week. I don't think it's long-term. Dimitri hurt his hamstring on Monday after the game, and so he wasn't able to go, and we feel he'll be able to go, if not this week, obviously next week.
Through 2 games, what are your thoughts on Coach Messingham's input on the offense?
Well, we're doing a lot of the things that we want to do with running the football, which is a big part of our offense and a big part of what we've done in the past. So I've been pleased with his game management, calling things and stuff. I think we've been really efficient in the passing game, spreading the football around. It was good to get our tight ends involved. It's formationally and stuff we're doing some things different, but yeah, you wouldn't, like I said, I don't know if a lot of people would know a big difference through the first 2 games.
What is kind of your practice schedule? Are you going to change anything up this week with the bye week in terms of contact or any of that stuff? Or how are you going to do that?
We won't go probably as long. We'll still practice our core days for sure of Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. The big emphasis we have there is, one, we need to continue to work on our special teams. That's something that's always a work in progress, and we need to improve in all areas there, as well as we need to really have our backups that are close to playing or are playing get significant reps so that those guys continue to move forward. I look at a position like Austin Kunert doesn't need to take a lot of reps the next 3 days, but I think Zach Kubis does. It's a great example of a guy that we really like in Kubis that played a handful of plays, but we need to have him continue to push forward just like a number of other positions because we know we're going to need him when we get into the heart of the valley play. So we'll have 3 good workout days this week and focus a lot more on us.
Cox is a guy who's generated a lot of buzz kind of in camp and stuff, and even with Nick going down, didn't see a ton of defensive snaps. Are you waiting on something with him, or does that just have to do with he's Chris's backup and Chris is healthy?
Well, he's not a Mike linebacker. I mean, that's what Nick is, and so that Nick not playing had nothing, has no bearing on Jabril Cox. Jabril was our special teams player of the game, had 3 tackles. Played really, really well in special teams. A guy that this is a big week for him, big 2 weeks for him to try to continue to learn our system, try to continue to get better in our system. You know, you look at two guys that played an awful lot of football for us on Saturday in Levi Jordan and Dan Marlette and played really well. Those guys are in their 4th year in the program. Chris and Jabril's in his 2nd year in his program. It doesn't happen overnight, even though he's got a world of ability. So do Levi and Dan. It's just trying to simplify some things and allow him to be more comfortable out there. In the same respect, I knew in Eastern Washington it was going to be a 5 defensive back game. It was Robbie Grimsley playing the nickel outside linebacker or Jalen Wimbush. So that was kind of our plan going in, was using 5 DBs.
Early, Chris, with the bye week, sometimes you would do some self-scout. Is it too early to start doing that stuff?
No, it's never too early. I mean, you need to continue to self-scout after each game. I don't care if it's game 2 or game 10. You always want to look at yourself first to see what you can do and where some things that are showing up that maybe you have tendencies. But you know, for us this week, being only 2 games into it, we need to focus more on us rather than to say, boy, we need to look down the pike at Robert Morris or the next game or the next game. This comes at a time for us where we have some guys injured that we need to get healed up, which you're going to have no matter what week it is. But for us, it's more getting the younger guys that we think are going to still be really good players for us up to speed this next 2 weeks.
What were your thoughts of Bridges and Hendricks in a more competitive game?
Yeah, I was really happy with Marquise. He played, I think, want to say 35 or 40 snaps, which allowed us to move Wimbush inside. And I think Marquise played really well. Didn't have a lot of factor plays, so to speak. Made 1 tackle that I was pleased to see him come in on. James probably had another 25, 30 snaps, impact plays, had a couple of factor plays that I think he did a nice job on. Missed 1 tackle that James is a really good tackler, and so he'll learn from that. But I was really pleased with those 2, which enables us to move Robbie all over the place. And I think you guys saw the impact that Robbie can have by playing 2 different positions at a high level. And I thought Robbie played as well as anybody has played for us on defense in a long time in a spread type system. You know, playing the backside safety, taking as many things away as he did. The interception he made where he went over the top and got it on Jalen with Jalen's help, that was a big time play where the quarterback had the throw. Robbie kind of baited him and then went back and got it. And his ability to do that, as well as to be a down linebacker type player, a box player, really opens up an awful lot of stuff for us defensively.
7 teams now in the top 25 from the Valley. Your thoughts on that?
It's really good this year. Obviously, I just saw scores. I didn't see any highlights or anything like that. Just saw scores, and obviously really pleased with what we did against some of the Big Sky schools that we're going to probably see down the pike in the playoffs and stuff. But I was really impressed with a number of scores. Obviously, South Dakota one jumps out at me. Going to Bowling Green, Bowling Green's a good football team, a good program, and Bob had them going and went in there and had a great win. So it's going to be, as we know, 8 weeks of great football, and you have to have your A game every week.
What does a Saturday off look like for you guys when the other Valley schools are playing? I mean, is your staff getting together and watching a bunch of Valley games, or still working on yourselves?
Well, I hope to not see any of our staff members on Saturday, and I hope they don't want to see me either. So that will be our off day. We'll go out and recruit and stuff and do those things towards the end of the week. I think that's become a bigger piece with the early signing period for us to be able to get out a few days. So myself, Coach Messingham, Coach Ince will handle the football team for a couple of days, and the other guys will get out on the road. It's not a contact period, but it's an evaluation period. So that's really important for us with that early signing period to be able to just be out and see some guys and evaluate some players. But Saturday for our team will be off really Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And I think that's important for them to get away from football, get kind of refreshed, and then we have 9 in a row.
With a less strenuous non-conference schedule than in years past, how important was this win on the road?
Well, this is a big win, and this was, I wouldn't say by any stretch of imagination people would think this would be an easy football game. You're talking the top 5 team, the team that they thought, and a lot of people thought should have been in the national championship game, and you go to their place and beat them 40-13. That's a good football program with a lot of tradition. and a tough, hard-nosed game for us. So I was just fortunate to get the win there, and we'll look at Robert Morris when we start looking at Robert Morris. But for us, it's all about us. I'm not really worried about our schedule. I don't even know who we open with after that in the league play. We just need to keep focusing on us.
Did any of the offensive linemen that weren't Cunert, Bolson, Connor really jump out to you?
I thought Zach Johnson played really well. That's a guy that really, with each snap he gets, he didn't play a bunch for us last year, but he had some critical downs against the Northern Iowa, against South Dakota, and South Dakota State that he's feeling more and more comfortable, and he was able to play. He didn't play many snaps against Mississippi Valley, but played every snap, all the meaningful snaps last week, and I thought he played really well. And for us to be successful, kids like Zach Johnson need to be at a dominant level, and I think he has the ability to do that. Great athlete, and he's a fierce competitor.
You mentioned after the game Saturday, the bye week comes at a better time than you thought. You maybe wanted to play 3 in a row, then the bye. Is it beyond injuries, or you think is there something else you want to get done this week?
Well, we still need to keep working these younger guys, and we talked before the season started. We needed to evaluate a number of offensive linemen, a number of defensive linemen, and some defensive backs through the first 3 games. We've been able to do that at all 3 positions, and I'm glad we have one more non-conference game for a lot of offensive linemen. And Dom Davis hasn't really played for us yet, but we need to get a good look at him. Dom's been injured, and he's finally back now, so we need to get a really good look at Dom, as well as Marquise. I think that those are the guys that we have to focus on, as well as Luke Bacon played really well in 20-plus snaps. And I know he's going to be a big factor for us in October and November. So these next 2 weeks and Robert Morris will be big for Luke, and hopefully we can have Luke play 30 to 35 snaps in that game because he's capable of doing that. And there was no drop-off when Luke came in the game where he was going to be the 7th guy in against Mississippi Valley. Well, he just moved up to the 6th, so the first guy in after Dylan goes down. And Luke's a guy that can play any of the 4 spots. The only one he doesn't play is center. So for us to keep pushing him forward, and if Kubas can come along, we can keep him outside. If Zemer continues to progress, we can keep Luke outside.
Blake Williams has thrown his hat in the ring.
Boy, played really well and makes plays, and that he's comfortable. He's explosive. He's 295 pounds. He has really good quickness. He's fresh. And when we were able to throw Steidel, Blake Williams, Nate, and Grant in there, and then roll Cole Karch in there, roll Derek Tuska played even inside a little bit. We're able to roll 6 guys inside. We're able to roll 5 guys outside. I think that is the strength of where we're at on defense is against teams like this to be able to play 8, 9, 10 guys and keep guys fresh coming after the quarterback, because that's where I think we wore down a little bit last year against that great quarterback, was not keeping him in the pocket and not being able to apply constant pressure, and those 10 guys did a great job.
What does he have to do to get to where he's at now? You're talking about Blake.
Just understand the system and feel, he's 4th-year junior, just feel comfortable with all the stunts and all the games that we have up front and all the pressures. It's not just I'm holding my B gap or I'm holding my A gap. It's knowing what the defense is behind you and having a better idea. Nate Tangway's helped him a bunch with what's the backfield set mean? Well, not a lot of times does a defensive tackle worry about a backfield set, but Blake is kind of pushing his game to that next level where you can say, okay, backs away, here's the plays I'm getting to me. Backs to me, here's the plays I'm getting to me. Oh, the guard's light in his stance, here's some of the things that are happening. So he's just so much more comfortable in our system, and that's what I mean in general when I can talk about any of our players is comfortable in the system is they're seeing so many more things pre-snap. Dan Marlette and Levi Jordan are seeing so many more things pre-snap as opposed to that ball being snapped and then they're seeing it. They're able to react because of what they see pre-snap.
Tuska kind of taking over that inside role, and you guys are going to keep Butler on the edge?
We'd like to, and part of that is Cole Karch. If he's healthy, we'll be able to continue to do that. If Cole isn't, then we would have to put him down there. But right now, we'd like to keep Caleb outside.
You guys Graduated both of your bigger backs in King and of course Chase. These smaller guys are really playing well inside the tackles. You have to be happy about that.
Yeah, and those smaller guys are heavier than the two bigger guys we had last year. You know, that's the thing is, I think a lot of people are finding out that Bruce is a load. You know, he's 215 pounds, and Lance is between 215 and 220, and Chase and King may have been that 215, 220 range. But you know, these guys are running really well. They complement each other so well because I think where it's difficult is one comes in, the other one comes in, and the offense doesn't change. The style of running plays that Coach Mess and Coach Riley call aren't changing. They can do so many things, and we're scratching the surface a little bit on the three-back set, which we were really big into last year when we had Chase. Because that fit a skill set that he had. We need to continue to evolve to get all three guys in the game because I think it makes the defense a lot more vanilla. You know, when you have three backs and you don't know what formations you're going to line up in. So I've been pleased with all three backs. And Ty really impressed me on Saturday. You know, he ran inside, ran for some tough yards. It wasn't all jet sweeps and wasn't all perimeter game stuff. You know, and he ran north and south and was able to get some tough yards. And Lance and Bruce are going to get the lion's share of the reps. But the more carries Ty gets, the more comfortable he's feeling.
Lance and Bruce, how do you kind of keep them healthy, especially this bye, because they have had an injury history the last couple of weeks?
Yeah, no question. And they're obviously really sore today. And even Ty is, you know, you run the ball as much as we did, you're going to have some back sore. You know, they have to do a great job taking care of their bodies first and foremost. You know, not hitting those guys and not having them take on the punishment in the week, which we won't this week. I mean, we're going to focus on Adam Colefield's going to have a lot of reps this week. Seth Wilson, who's a young man that we're redshirting that we're really high on, is going to get an awful lot of reps this week. So they're going to have an opportunity to get their bodies healed up.
You've been interchanging, I think, Darius and Trey on punt returns. Haven't you had both of them back?
Well, the biggest reason we did that is when we go our punt safe and the defense stays out there and we don't bring a punt return team in there, then we just keep Trey out there just in case somebody all of a sudden wants to switch to a formation. Then we have a true free safety in the game. But if it's a normal punt return situation, it'll be Shep. And we kind of challenged Trey this year that he needed to be able to do that because, you know, last year we lost Shep, we lost Perk. For a period of time, we didn't really have a guy back there. So I think Robbie could do it as well. That's the third guy right now would be Robbie. So we need to have both those guys, all three of those guys be back there being able to catch it.
Is Ty as good a kick returner as you guys have had in a while?
I don't know. It's jury's still out because there's so many balls kicked out of the end zone. You know, on Saturday it was hard to tell, and Mississippi Valley State was hard to tell. Bruce is still going to be back there some too. And if you notice, we put all three guys back there, Bruce, Lance, and Ty, so that people couldn't kick it one way or another. You want to kick it in a corner, then you're going to kick it to Bruce and Lance. And so I think all three of those guys are interchangeable back there as far as return guys.
You had a couple of throws. I think they're both in your first series that were kind of, he threw them into coverage under pressure, concern, or you okay with him trying to make a play? Or?
Well, you know, I thought he took a couple series to settle in. There's no question. I thought the second half, he played really well and made some really tough throws under duress. And that's the one thing that I guess if you'd want to look at anything, I think he was hit too much. Something we have to do a better job of protecting him. He took some shots that he shouldn't have had. He shouldn't be taking because we're falling off of a block late. But I thought he played really well that second half. And being down on the field, I'm just telling you, that was really tough conditions to throw the football. And their receivers felt the same thing as our receivers. That's why I was so impressed with Nate Jensen. Some of the catches that he made against the wind, you know, that ball's coming like this. It's not tight spiral, and it's blowing all over the place. And those are really extremely tough throws to make and catches to make. And so I was pleased with how Easton finished that game.
The 3rd and 11 throw that he made seemed to, I think it was the third quarter, he dropped in that 3rd and 11 for the first down. That seemed to settle him in even more.
I think that was to Ilias. Yeah, and it was, I think it settled Jeff down too, as far as getting him back involved. I mean, Jeff, I think, we saw probably close to 90%, and we'll probably see him at full speed come the next game. But I think Easton finding Jeff and getting Jeff settled down, getting himself settled down, that was a big throw in a critical time. They had the wind at their back, and we didn't want to punt it to him again. And then he scrambled out and threw the one to Jentz. That was an unbelievable catch and a great throw in traffic. And you're right. I think those things settled him down. And when we were able to complete those against the wind, those were big.
Had in mind with Nate Jensen?
Absolutely. Yep. I've seen good glimpses of it when he's healthy. And he's healthy right now, and we have to continue to keep him healthy and keep him up. He's got to continue to take care of his body on things, but that's without question. He's a big body with really soft hands, runs good routes, utilizes his body so well. That's the thing that I like about him. He uses his body so well to fend off defenders and then catch a ball with his hands. And I thought Easton could put a couple of balls in spots that only Nate could get to on a couple of those third down plays.
Quarterback in high school?
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah. He was an athletic guy running around back there, and he was, 40 pounds lighter too. But we recruited him strictly as a tight end, hoping to be that guy that could, flex out and do some of those things. But he's become a real dominant blocker at the point of attack. I mean, he's what we call a true Y. That's an on-the-ball guy, where Jeff and Connor are more off the ball U type guys. He's been really good at blocking too. That's the thing that I've been impressed with Nate and Ben. Ben blocked extremely well on Saturdays. Our ability to block people at the point of attack. I mean, our running backs ran well, but boy, there wasn't anything at times for 3 or 4 yards because we're really pushing the pile.
Seems to be giving more on his read plays than he did when he was a little bit younger. Is that sort of a stay healthy thing from the staff, or is that just the plays that he's seeing in front of him?
That's what they were showing in front of us, and that's it, all those are reads. If it's late in a game, they're going to be gives, not reads. But all those, I think people respect what he can do with the football, so they want to force it into a give read. And the one time that it was an absolute easy keep read was the touchdown. They chased the back down, and he walked in pretty easily. You have to pull it there, but we still have a number of those plays in our arsenal that give him the ball. And there's times that there's going to be some games where you never want your quarterback to run it 25 times, but when we've been really successful, it's that 9 to 13 reps in critical situations where it's a designed run where you have to, on defense, defend what we call the 11th man. It makes it really, really tough on teams. If a team doesn't have a mobile quarterback but sits in the shotgun, well, then you're going to make that kid run the football. For us, we sit in the gun, and I think people say, okay, pick your poison. Do you want Easton to run it, or do you want to hand it to one of the good backs?
Chris, just real quick, Bryce Mesner, the guy that's flip-flopped it. Defensive line kind of flies under the radar sometime, but what are your overall opinions of him and kind of his transformation, what he's been able to do?
He's done a great job for us. We moved him to full-time offensive line last year, ended up playing a lot of our extra O-line package and played some tight end because we had Jack and we had Zach. And then this spring we said, you're a fifth-year senior. Program means everything to him. He's a North Dakota kid that it's your opportunity to play and be a big part of it. And he really took that seriously and worked extremely hard. He's 288, 292, somewhere in there. So he's got great weight, and he's a really good athlete. He's still learning the position. That's the thing that Coach Riley and I even talked about yesterday. I think we're going to even see better play out of Bryce as the season goes along because he's really only played a game and a half of offensive line, of true guard play. He had some mop-up duty last year, but he's a guy that I think is going to continue to get better as the season goes along.
Second half, you were able to pull away, something you weren't always able to do last year. Is that a product of settling in or conditioning?
Well, probably a little bit of that, a little bit of there was maybe a chip on our kid's shoulder that we were gonna own this football game. I don't know, the defense wasn't pleased with their performance the year before. So they were challenging each other every time they came off the field, and offensively, once you start rolling and you start running the football, it's hard to stop you. And we were able to continue to do that and just keep. We talked all week about this was going to be a 4-quarter game, and we weren't going to allow 30 second half points. We weren't going to allow big plays and explosive plays in the second half. And when we had the opportunity to keep the football and keep drives alive, we were going to do that. And sometimes adversity is a tough thing to deal with, but sometimes adversity brings out the best in guys, and our guys get better when they have adverse conditions.